So now that we understand our words, what are our testing options? So you need to choose superiority, better than. You wouldn't design to show an inferior treatment. You would design to show a superior treatment. Non-inferiority being not worse than, or equivalence being a small acceptable difference. Here's a summary of them. So superiority is one drug is better than another effective drug. Non-inferiority is not worse than the current treatment by a small acceptable amount. And equivalence is basically the absence of a meaningful difference. So again, it doesn't say that we've proven them to be the same. It just says that we don't have any evidence to say that they're different by a lot. Should also have a placebo in your superiority to show that the current treatment is better than a placebo. And remember, if you can't have a placebo, if you have to have an active comparator, it's going to be harder to show superiority if your active comparator is moderately effective. Non-inferiority and equivalence are more complex to design, conduct, and interpret than typical superiority trials because remember, you're not saying that it's not worse than. You're saying that it's not worse than by a small acceptable amount. Equivalence means you are determining that you have similar treatments. Similar, not the same, not identical, similar treatments, but there are some more desirable or better or fewer side effects in your new intervention. These are simple to interpret in terms of efficacy and superiority. Non-inferiority can be difficult to interpret and there is no efficacy statement. And equivalence is difficult to interpret and again, no efficacy. Equivalence is also difficult to interpret and generally there's not a statement of efficacy. In general, you can design non-inferiority and equivalence to show efficacy, but you have to be very specific in your design. So if you're doing a non-inferiority to show that A, your new treatment is no worse than B, and you also then want to show that A is better than B, that takes some really specific statistical assistance in designing that study. Superiority is easy to underpower. Non-inferiority, if you have a wide margin, so if I'm willing to accept 10 pounds, that will increase your power and you'll require fewer people, but do you really think 10 pounds weight loss is the same or not worse than? Equivalence, if you widen the margin, you would say that I don't think 10 pounds is any different. So be careful about non-inferiority and equivalence and make sure that you contact a statistician who has a great amount of experience in running and designing trials other than superiority. So keep in mind when you're designing your clinical trial that superiority follows many of the statistical properties we've seen before. Non-inferiority and equivalence are very specialized and will need some unique assistance to design those studies.